All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of NSR Wrestling. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be moving around some talent here. We're going to be talking about the companies as they are currently configured, who we want where, and why we think they should be there. I'm Peck,
I'm Chris.
and basically, we're kind of looking at this as, there are a couple different things to look at. Who's not being used correctly? Who's too big of a name that they should be in another company? No offense, Ring of Honor, but some of your big names belong in other companies, let's just be honest. I mean, honestly, you should have lost a lot more than Kenny King.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Finlay, you have Rhino, you have Mike Bennett. Even Jay Lethal would have been, I guess, a little bit of more of an impact than Kenny King. And then you bring in Kenny King, you job him out to Zema Ion for absolutely no reason. It makes no sense.
Yeah, has he been even on the show since that?
No.
I don't think they can repackage him and figure out what to do with him.
I think they can. I mean, his athleticism is great. I'd have him feud with, RVD or somebody, because, I try to bill him as a legitimate heavyweight, because, he's big enough. Look how big he is. He's bigger than Zema Ion. He has a heavyweight body.
Yeah.
Especially in TNA. You could book him against people, but they haven't used him right.
What about, let me take a look here. Austin Benjamin.
Too
old?
No, it's just that, actually, I really don't know why they never went to TNA.
They would be someone to compete against Daniels and Kaz. That'd be a great match.
They'd actually be new. Even though we know them as wrestling fans, they've been around for a while. But here's the thing. If you didn't watch SmackDown in, 2004, 2005, and, you didn't really pay attention to Shelton Benjamin's singles career, and you don't watch ROH now, this is a completely new team to you, and they have gotten a lot better. Remember how they used to be boring and just wear singlets all the time?
Yeah.
Charlie Haas couldn't talk. Shelton Benjamin had Mama Benjamin with him. They've really improved their style, and their matches have just been great.
Well, yeah, and plus the last time the team was '07, so you figure fans that are newer to TNA, and if they were younger then, if say like a fan was like 4 or 5 years old, now they're 10 or 12 or even 15, they're not really going to remember too much.
You could also bring in the Briscoes, but the thing with that is their wrestling ability is there, but they're really loyal to ROH and Jim Cornette.
Yeah, I don't even really watch them. I can't really comment on them.
They're not bad.
Are they worth the jump though? I don't know.
Wrestling wise, yeah. But again, they're stuck in that ROH thing of way too many indie high spots.
I hate those flips and all that junk.
Well,
just wrestle.
Not even just flips, just moves that someone shouldn't possibly kick out of at 1.5 as a regular move.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What about this Mike Mondo guy?
Mike Mondo's size would hurt him. He'd fit in TNA because he's only about the same height as Austin Aries, but he has a more muscular body. He looks a lot bigger than he is.
Who's Maria
Kanellis?
Who's she with?
Mike Bennett.
Is that okay? Mike Bennett.
He actually has a WWE body, but the ROH style of wrestling. I think he'd honestly be better served in WWE, but I don't think they'd use him right. I'd love to see him go to TNA and bring Maria with him.
That would be good. See, this is weird. Tommaso Ciampa. He's not even. I thought he was a Japanese wrestler.
No. He's Sicilian. But here's the problem with ROH. They are completely obsessed with ethnic stereotypes.
Yeah.
Kevin Steen, they always hype up the fact that he's Canadian. Tommaso Ciampa, the Sicilian psychopath. You have the Briscoe brothers as rednecks. You have, it's always about the nationality, and that's what I hate about Ring of Honor. El Generico, he's from Mexico, great.
Sound like WWF from like the 70s.
Tommaso Ciampa's actually a pretty good wrestler, but he really got depushed. They had him lose a match. He lost his first match in ROH to Jay Lethal, of all people.
I would love.
He's been kind of on a downward spiral ever since, but he has potential. I'd bring him in. I'd throw him into OVW. He's better than Crimson is currently constituted right now.
Yeah, not a fan of his. I know you kind of don't like him, but I like David Richards. I love to see him in TNA. I do a lot with him.
I do like Davey Richards, just not when he's champion and always fighting the same rotation of 3 people.
Yeah, it gets old.
But as a wrestler, absolutely. He has kicks like Tajiri. He's just a good wrestler. I'll admit that.
Well, half of this roster here, as I'm looking at, is ex-TNA guys, really.
Yeah, and ex-ECW.
Yeah. What about Eddie Edwards? Do you like that guy?
I hate Eddie Edwards. Okay. He doesn't sell anything, and he is extremely boring. I mean, he's a good wrestler, but I hate him.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
don't like Roderick Strong at all. I mean,
Yeah, he was boring in TNA, so I don't really.
and he's small. I mean, if you look at him, he is tiny.
Yeah, I
He's
didn't.
about 6'3", but he must only weigh about 175, if that.
Hmm.
What do they bill him at? 210?
What's his name? Roderick Strong. Let me see if I can find him on here.
If they give his stats, because whatever it is can't be right.
He was tiny in TNA. I wasn't too impressed.
He can't talk. I mean, they bill him as like this like the popular kid in high school, but he really doesn't deliver.
No real. Weight's 200 pounds.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
He's 30 pounds short of that.
Yeah, he doesn't really look.
If he's 200 pounds, I'm 190.
I look 215, and I'm 215. I would tower over him. Nigel McGuinness, unfortunately, the career
The
didn't.
hepatitis.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Oh, it really is. I mean, I never really watched too much of his ROH stuff. Honestly, I only knew him as Desmond Wolfe, but incredible talent in the ring.
I don't know about Michael Algen.
You
Hit
know
or
what?
miss.
I didn't like him at first as a wrestler. I thought he was a really nice person. The fans are actually behind him, though,
Yeah.
and his wrestling ability, I must say, has improved considerably. Now, there's one person, he's kind of off the radar of a lot of people, but you and I both like him.
Yeah.
He's a young guy by the name of Matt Taven, and he's one of the few marketing things that, in my mind, ROH has done right. He actually has a catchphrase called, "Did Matt just happen?" And they have this design on his pants, and it says Matt TV, so they're playing off the whole MTV thing. But I mean, he would have fit in the late '90s. I mean, he kind of looks a lot like what a young Jeff Hardy did.
Oh, see,
And
that's
he
good.
has that style. We watched a couple of his matches, and we're like, wow, this guy. I mean, we know he's going to lose because he's facing one of their champion caliber guys. But I mean, he's a great wrestler.
Yeah, and if he's a good wrestler, he'll make it.
And the other thing is too, he has height. A lot of wrestlers that they say are 6'2" are actually 5'8", but he's actually a good 6'1", 6'2", and he can be an X Division wrestler, or he can be a legitimate heavyweight contender.
That's good. We need more of that.
And he's only 24 to 26, so I mean, we have plenty of good years of him left.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Steen, I think, would fit just because of the how different he is. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have a wrestling body, but on the microphone, he can talk. He's hilarious. He's in a group with Steve Corino, which, I mean, that does wonders for you.
I always liked him, too.
And in terms of wrestling ability, I mean, those two can tear down the house, have a wonderful hardcore match.
So you think TNA would benefit from him?
I think TNA would benefit from honestly trying to aggressively go after a lot of these ROH guys instead of wasting time on Gut Check and Hulk Hogan's salary.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And
I like the whole Aces and Eights angle, but if a lot of these people aren't ever going to play out... Here's the problem with Aces and Eights, though. Do you think we're ever going to see them without the masks as viable wrestlers and have enough of them that they actually matter? Do you think a lot of them are going to stick, or are we going to see a lot of them just wrestle for 2 months then completely disappear?
Well, I think most of the guys from India, they're going to keep around. I bet there's more than they're not telling us about.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure
signed.
guys like D.H. Smith, Festus, Chris Masters, they'll all be, big players, or at least bit players, but,
That Briscoe guy's there, too.
Yeah. So, West Briscoe. Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll see them, but I don't know. TNA, the only problem is, I mean, where do you fit them in?
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. With WWE, I wouldn't even tell anybody from RH to go there because they're not going to get used right.
Well,
that new guy did.
Cesaro.
Yeah.
That's
rare. That's so
rare. He's
rare.
United States champion. The other guy, Chris Hero.
Haven't seen him.
Well, you know what they did to him?
Dropped him out?
No. Well, sort of. They put him in NXT. And they named him Cassius Oh No, all one word, and he's supposed to be Hawaiian. He is a blonde, New Englander. It doesn't work.
Right off the bat, you're done because you're starting on the show saying that I want to be a wrestler. So that right off the bat, you have no credibility. With this Cicero guy or whatever, at least they put him as a viable wrestler.
Rugby guy or something.
Yeah.
They gave him a gimmick, and he has the look. I mean, he does it with WWE look. I can get behind that. Don't know really about his ability. He used to be Claudio Castagnoli.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to help his career by much. Just, I mean, for
Oh,
checkbook, it
if you're a United States champion already, good things are
will.
gonna. Well, maybe not though, because remember Drew McIntyre? He was Intercontinental Champion. They were grooming him to be a world champion, and now he can't even get on Superstars.
Well, it's like, I mean, I understand like people think WWE is the pinnacle, but in my mind, it doesn't help your career. It can only hurt it. The only thing it's going to help is your checkbook. I mean, other than that,
It is the pinnacle, and it isn't. It is if you wrestle at WrestleMania. It isn't if you get thrown into a tag team and you never get to see the light of day, or you're always losing live events.
I mean, guys like Chris Hero and stuff, and same thing happened to Low Key. They shouldn't have to go on this stupid NXT. They're professional wrestlers. They've been around maybe
It's
10 plus
insulting.
years.
Why
It
are
is.
they
I would be
doing
like,
a
no.
fake reality? That's the same problem that we both have with TNA Gut Check. That and the fact that it makes management look like they have no idea what they're doing and they can't evaluate
You don't
talent,
need it.
and they need fans that aren't real wrestling fans trying to pick people.
The only way I accept it is if they're getting Joey Ryan over with it, which they shouldn't have to anyway.
And I'll
That's
tell you,
fine if they're
the
going to do it
only
like
one
that.
that I liked so far, I liked the girl, Taylor Hendricks, and I liked Sam Shaw. Aces and Eights attacked him. He actually has, a pretty good, different look to him. I mean, yeah, he's an indie wrestler, but you don't look at him and say, okay, this guy's a waiter at, Olive Garden in his spare time. He actually looks like a viable wrestler.
You know, it would be a good storyline for Aces and Eights if it was all the former guys that get screwed by Jeff Jarrett. Like Raven, Monty Brown, Rhino, Abyss, all the guys that get screwed out of the
Aces and
belt.
Eights is made up completely of the fans?
No, like Chris Harris, all the guys that get screwed out of title
I
shots.
would love
That'd
to
be a good
see
angle.
Chris Harris show up, but I don't think he can get himself into shape because he blew his shot. I don't know what the hell he did when he went to WWE. You remember that?
That was weird.
Overdosed on gummy bears, gained like 40 pounds, and then his career was over.
It's Braden Walker, and that didn't last very long.
No, I mean, he had a really good run in TNA. I mean, yeah, they hot-shotted him into a title shot match. He lost, but I mean, people were so behind him. Same with Kazarian.
Yeah. It's a shame that happened, you know.
Another person I would take and, move them around, I would say I try to bring back DDP.
Well, yeah. But he's kind of old, though, don't you think?
He looked good at WWE when he diamond cutted Heath Slater. I mean, you can get him for like 1 or 2 matches. Have him wrestle Sting,
Yeah.
Do something like that.
I'm looking here real quick at New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm trying to see who they have as their...
Do they have any other like American talent that we haven't seen in a couple of years?
I'm going to look right now. Let's see. Carl Anderson.
Yeah.
Lance Archer. That's Lance Hoyt. He's over there.
See, among the indies, he actually has a really big following, but I really don't trust indie wrestling fans. That's one of my biggest things. I don't like a lot of them. They would much rather watch Ladder War 3 than something that people actually know.
MVP's over there. He's making big money.
Yeah, he is. I mean, good for him. Because WWE was jobbing him out. They put him in a tag team with Mark Henry. He wasn't being used right. He could show up in TNA, but he's making too much money. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you can make the money, do it. And he thinks, New Japan's way over WWE, which it is. I think it's a better product. Harry Smith.
Wise, absolutely. I mean, money-wise, no, but...
Harry Smith's over there. That's about it.
I'd love to see Batista come back as a pro wrestler. I think once he loses his first MMA fight convincingly, which should be his first fight, I think we're going to see him go back to wrestling.
Alex Kozlov's over there. Who was that?
You mean Kozlov, the big Russian guy?
No, it's a junior heavyweight Alex Kozlov. That name sounds familiar. Let me see.
It probably sounds familiar because of that other Kozlov that we know.
I think actually that was... he was in Florida Championship Wrestling for a little bit, but I think he was trying to see if he was in TNA as that Russian guy. That doesn't look like it.
What about Mike Knox?
Yeah, he was.
He's a big guy that could actually wrestle, and he can do a standing drop kick at 6'8". That's pretty impressive.
Low Key's over there. Alex Shelley's over there. Rocky Romero.
Yeah, but all those guys that have their shot and come and gone, I really don't care about Low Key anymore, I'll be honest with you.
Rocky Romero was Ricky Reyes.
Ricky Reyes actually wasn't a bad wrestler. He's actually... It's funny that you mentioned that because Low Key no-showed an indie event that I went to, and Ricky Reyes took his spot and faced...
Prince Devitt.
No, Ricky Reyes was supposed to wrestle Low Key, but Low Key no-showed, and they brought in Too Cold Scorpio, and him and Ricky Reyes had one of the best matches I've ever seen live.
Why not? That's pretty much it. So I bring Carl Anderson to TNA. He's a pretty good wrestler.
Hmm.
Lance Hoyt again, MVP. I take wherever I could get really because the guys that are in the mid-30s and back are going to be the guys that can still go and give you that opportunity. Early to mid-30s, like 34, 35. Then after that,
And
they're
I'd
getting too
also
old.
look at the WWE waiver wire. I know people bag on TNA for that all the time, but there's legitimate talent like Drew McIntyre in there that you could get for a reasonable sum that could help your company.
I'm looking at All Japan.
Is there anybody you think in
Excuse
the
me.
NWA that you would want to have? Or are they
Colt
just...
Cabana. I think one more try with him.
how many chances does Cole Cabana need, though?
Well, he just needs the right situation. Ring of Honor was the right situation.
But why didn't it stick? Why didn't he get a
Well,
big offer? Why did he only get one tryout match, when CM Punk got huge and they're supposed to be such good friends?
I don't
Why?
know. It's who you know, I guess, there. I don't know.
Is it more about how he likes helping the smaller industry? Is it more because he likes Juggalo Championship Wrestling? What is it about Cole Cabana that makes him content with where he is? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's no one here in All Japan.
No.
Pretty much dead. I mean, from what I'm seeing, there's
Well,
no.
I think I did hear something about that, how New Japan has basically bought up a lot of the territories over there and, really dominated.
Let me find Noah. That was another one.
They actually, ROH has a working relationship with Noah, and that's where they send a lot of their developmental guys to get better. And it seemed like it worked a little bit.
Yeah, I probably did. Let me see if there's anybody over there.
Here's a real quick question for you. I know you and I don't quite like this wrestler. We don't think that really anything can come of it. Do you think there's a chance for redemption? Do you think Crimson can get any better?
No.
No?
He's just uninteresting. He doesn't have bulk. He's supposed to be this muscle guy, but he's too puny.
Okay, but if he gains some weight, do you think maybe he'd be viable?
Maybe if you have a manager or somebody with him to help him develop, but other than that, no.
I mean, he does have cool entrance music. The pyro's neat. The t-shirt design is neat. I mean, he does have a unique look, but... And his matches aren't quite terrible because he's not fighting anybody, as big as Matt Morgan anymore. I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to give him one more shot.
I'm going to look at one more thing, Lucha Libre USA, to see what their roster contains of. What about Homicide for Ring of Honor?
He's already there. I mean,
Does
he's
it
been in
matter?
and out of TNA so many times. I don't think anybody cares.
No, I don't think there was any use for him.
I always wanted to see him feud with Suicide just for the sheer novelty factor, not because I actually wanted to see the matches. I just thought it was ironic.
There's a lot of guys here. Blue Demon Jr., maybe. Carlito I bring in.
Here's the question, though.
Bismarck Jr.
Is what they bring in worth the contract you pay them?
Depends what the contract is. It has to be a cheap contract.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
for some-
saying.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, would Carlito put you in a seat? Would Carlito
No.
affect your position in the positive category at all to make you want to go to that show, or would he go the other way and make you less interested? Because quite honestly, I'd be less interested.
Oh, everyone says he just doesn't care enough. He doesn't have enough passion. He probably doesn't. He probably doesn't care that much.
He doesn't have
It's
that much
obvious. There's a
ability.
storyline with Ric Flair about it, so it must be a backstage thing.
He doesn't really have that much ability, I'll be honest
No.
with you. It's not even a lack of passion. I know guys that have a lot of passion that don't have the talent, and I know a lot of guys that have talent that don't have the passion. I mean, I'm the biggest Van Damme fan in the world, but I mean, you and I both agree he took some plays off, had some really bad matches.
Yeah. They got Kip James. He's too old. Mark Jindrak, I would see.
I'd give him another shot because
Yeah.
he's been out of the limelight enough. People forget about his stupid WWE mirror gimmick.
Yeah, I think he would have one more try. Not Petey Williams, Reed Flair maybe.
No.
Relic for sure I'd bring back.
Yeah, I'd rework his gimmick. I'd take off the mask, let him, see what he could do.
Hurricane Helms, Stevie Richards. Tatanka, I think Tatanka will be viable. He's older, but
Still
Paul
good
London
shape.
as well.
He's huge.
yeah, I bring in Paul London. They were supposed to
Oh,
bring him
Paul
with them. That was Amazing Red's partner. That's who it was supposed to be, but
Paul London, I would give the X Division title to right now over Zema Island any day of the week. In my mind, that man should have never been X Division champion in the first place. We were watching the X Division. I mean, you remember the X Division tournament? We were like, why in the hell is this field so weak?
I know.
And then he ended up winning. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Like, jeez. So there's some guys that bring Reed Flair maybe. I don't know enough about the Lucha Libre wrestlers. I have to look at them, but I'd probably bring some of them in.
What I want to know is, how does ROH with a smaller budget attract talent like Rhino, Finley, and Lance Storm, and TNA, the second biggest wrestling promotion, can't do it.
I don't get it.
I mean, hell, even okay, granted, it might have been actually with them going live and only doing one live match a week. I think it would be a lot easier to bring in Lance Storm and have him feud with Kurt Angle or something. That'd just be interesting, just from the sheer wrestling factor.
I'm looking at the women's division. It's pretty much ex-TNA women.
Well, Brooke Hogan has ruined the Knockouts division. I mean, they've let go of so much honest to God talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do they have, like, my question is if Tessmacher beats, like, one of the contenders, do they have someone else to face her at all?
Gary Michael Capetta was a ring announcer. That's impressive for Lucha Libre USA. That'd be someone to consider. Yeah, I mean,
I would like to see TNA bring back Shane and do it right.
Shane who?
You remember Shane? He was from that, what the hell was his name? He was their champion, the Puerto Rico promotion, that Shane guy.
Oh, yeah, Shane
The blonde
Sewell.
guy.
Yeah, he was worth it. I thought he was a decent wrestler.
And they didn't give him a chance.
No.
He faced Davari, and then he went to WWE, and he became like an agent. I'm like, but you actually have wrestling ability. I've watched you in Puerto
Yeah,
Rico.
well, I mean, I want to look him up, see what happened to him. But yeah, that was another guy they wasted. They wasted, God, so many people over the years.
I mean, not as many as WWE, but still, that's just because of WWE being a bigger product.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't really say much. I thought he was going to WWE, but it doesn't show that he did. He went back to, worked in Florida Championship Wrestling for a little bit. Then he went back to World Wrestling Council. That's that Puerto Rican league. So he's over there. He's making cash. He don't care. I don't blame him.
Yeah, me neither. Good for him.
He's 40 and it's starting to wind down. But
Are we all?
I know. Anybody else from Ring of Honor that we could think of?
I mean, a lot of people. I mean, they all have wrestling ability. You don't get the ROH if you don't. It's just do you have the look? That's the thing.
Prince Nano will be good in TNA. He's funny.
I think so too. He always makes me laugh.
He'd be good with, if ever left with a Kofi Kingston, you put those two together like some kind of Jamaican group. I think that'd be funny.
Kofi Kingston won't ever leave because he's a global ambassador and he's making his money. He doesn't care if he never gets a world title shot. He's happy holding that U.S. belt and running around and being part of a tag team. There are just certain guys that you can't get. Same with Zack Ryder. As much as they screwed him over, he won't go back. I don't want to see Christian come back, though. I don't like him. I don't even like him in WWE. I just don't like him, period. I don't want him in ROH. I don't want him in TNA. I don't want him in my living room. I don't want him on my TV. I hate it.
Yeah. It's like, geez.
I mean, I've never seen somebody ride the coattails of somebody more and actually get a world title out of it than him.
Yeah, it's like,
Multiple times. It was ridiculous. You were billing him as the instant classic and having him feud with Sting. I'm like, this is the same guy that had to steal the Intercontinental title, basically, and couldn't get over.
Remember this NWE?
Yeah.
I
They
remember
had
that.
Orlando Jordan. They had the Ultimate Warrior at one point. Van Dam worked a couple of spots for them.
Let's see, I'm looking at their roster. I don't know if they're even, I think they're still going, but it looks kind of dated here. They're talking about the Warrior.
You and I both would like to see Alex Wright come back. Just because
Yeah.
he's young, but he's running his own promotion in Germany.
He's in his mid-30s, by 35, which, I mean,
Youngish for professional wrestling, though.
I kind of wish that, like, after WCW went on, took a break, but then came back, because he's still one of those guys that never really came back or did anything. Still in good shape, still can go, good talent. Would be great for TNA.
Oh, Mr. Perfect's son. The one they buried and gave the name of an Irish gangster, Michael McGillicuddy. What was that about?
I don't know. Why do they do that to people? This one guy I always hear about, and he's a part of the Samoan family, he's this Black Pearl guy.
I keep hearing about him too, but I've never seen him.
He's always on like the Hulkamania tours, the foreign stuff. Never in TNA though. That'd be somebody to try to look into.
Although the Hulkamania tour, it's like only the top 5% of that ever gets brought in. Like Ken Anderson, I'm sure they would have brought in Umaga had he not died.
Yeah, they were going to, but he died.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to say someone's dead, but I mean, I really, I'm not happy he's dead. I'm just happy he's not in a wrestling ring anymore.
Yeah. Trying to look for anybody else. I mean, NWA. Let me take a look at their roster real quick. I don't think there's anybody really.
Is Crusher Hansen still their champion?
I know the.
Or is it Adam Pearce?
I think he was, but I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
They changed their website, so I'm just trying to look here. Tell me the ECCW.com. What the
What
heck?
the hell is that?
It's just a honky tonk man getting Smashed in the face.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Takes me to extreme Canadian wrestling. I don't know. Let me see if I can just get out of this.
Is that one that was like with like Vampiro was with, or is that WFX and that folded?
That was WFX, I think.
Is that still alive? I don't know.
know.
Vampiro, I'd bring in Vampiro.
Yeah, I heard he's kind of like a jerk, though. Like a backstabber and stuff. That's probably
So what? So is Randy Orton, from what I hear.
I see. Their webpage isn't working, of course.
Just like the NWA itself.
Yeah,
maybe we have
it.
to be in the right territory to be able to see that. Maybe they no longer serve as Pennsylvania.
It's not even worth looking up. But NWA is coming on Ion Network with one of their Wild Side or something. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how that goes, and if we actually get it.
Yeah.
Better not get rid of my reruns of Ghost Whisperer, though. I'll go to the NWA myself and take that belt and throw it in the trash.
Good Lord. We talk about Mike Bennett, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
The Young Bucks are here, but we already saw them.
Yeah, they suck. I mean, they had one really good match with the Guns, but unless they're fighting anything, large, like around the size of a Chucky doll, they can't have a good match with it.
But Red Titus?
Eh.
Never saw him, I don't know.
He was Kenny King's tag partner. I wasn't crazy about him.
What about El Generico?
No. Petrie loves him.
They have Jay Lethal, but who cares?
Yeah, honestly, who cares? I mean, he has a pinfall victory over Ric Flair, but so does Kenny Dykstra.
Yeah, so that's pretty much who we could kind of move around. I mean, not a lot out there right now. I mean, there's probably tons of indie talent we never see.
I mean, we'd love to see like Raven come back, but here's the thing: we don't want to take anything away from the new ECW style promotion that Douglas has. We want them to be strong, so we want them to get as.
Yeah, I don't want to see. I would like to see like the FBI guys come to TNA again, Tony Mamaluke, and then they can still go. That'd be a good tag team to have. I mean, at least somebody. Anybody, because they have nobody.
That's what I was thinking about. The main thing that I think TNA and a lot of these other companies, well, screw WWE, but I think I think TNA should focus on adding new tag teams. Why don't they do a gut check of that?
I know.
How come we haven't seen that yet?
Or just bring in teams. There's New Japan, All Japan, Mexico. There's all these companies.
Yeah, as long as they can wrestle, they can get over. I mean, like if you go to an indie show, right? You know this. We see guys we've never seen before. We don't care if they're heel or face. We go by the moves that they do, and they get a couple surprise claps, and then we give them a standing ovation if the match is great. We've seen that before.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about the independents. I mean, that's an whole topic in itself, comparing the territories and independents. But you can still have like legends like Greg Valentine wrestle Terry Funk or something, and enjoy that, and then still watch new guys, but then still watch guys that were kind of like, like a Brooklyn Brawler against. Like Bob Holly. I don't know. But just enjoy the whole show. And it doesn't matter if they're old or past their prime. You can still have the whole show and enjoy it.
You know what amazes me, though? That independent guys will go out of their way to kill themselves doing high spots in front of 200 people. But when they get on TV, they play it safe, they play it conservative, and they always keep the match under 12 minutes. Why?
Who's slowly starting to improve in an interesting way is Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, they are.
Their live shows were amazing.
And if you look at the amount of talent they've added, they didn't used to have anybody. They have Colt Cabana. They have really good tag teams. They're violent as hell, but they're good.
And what I meant by amazing was they're not fighting in a bar. They actually have like a decent looking
arena
type of place. Yeah, I mean the matches might not be the best, but they have Raven. Necro Butcher.
How many companies does Raven work for right now?
God, everybody. Jimmy Jacobs. That might be somebody.
There's they have Jimmy Jacobs.
Rob Conway's in there. Sabu.
Jimmy Jacobs is part of Evil with Kevin Steen and Steve Corino. I really like Jimmy Jacobs. I just don't really like the gender bending thing or the fact that his nickname is the Zombie Princess.
They have Vampiro, Zach Gowen.
Why?
I don't know. He kind of comes and goes out of territories, Be another guy to bring in TNA.
Not very quick. I'm sorry.
Another guy to bring in TNA would be Big Vito. As well as Chase Stevens just teamed up with... he's been teaming up with Cassidy Riley, I think, and he's been teaming up with that guy from... Joey Mercury?
Yeah.
His old tag team partner. Christian York. They've been teaming up. So those are some guys that bring in.
I would rather see Christian York in him as opposed to the first one. But
Yeah, I mean, just bring anybody. I mean, there's so
Joey
many great
Ryan,
wrestlers
too.
out there.
Or not Joey Ryan. Joey Mercury. Why
I
bring
think
him
he's a
into?
trainer in WWE.
I know, but I mean, put him in TNA. Have him be X Division champion. Why not?
Yeah.
He can make the mask thing work.
Vader has a son, too, Van Vader.
I heard of that.
Might be something to look into. I mean, just anybody. Get things, moving. I would steal Ted DiBiase, too.
Oh,
from
absolutely.
WWE. That's a guy you can work. Yeah, that's a guy you can work with.
I've seen. Well, he has an injured shoulder right now.
I think more mid 20s, early to mid 20s, and then to
But see, WWE has this thing where they'll hold on to a guy, they'll push him at live events, he'll get an injury, he'll stay on the books for 2 more years of a contract, you won't get to see him, and we never get to see him in another promotion until he's 34, and then he's not allowed to use his name, and no one knows who he is.
Exactly. What a mess.
Or they've changed their gimmicks so much and just made them so ridiculous that when you do see them, you're like, huh, oh yeah, I remember him. He was the guy that would randomly get up and sing karaoke during a match.
Well, see, that's
Murdoch.
And that's the problem, too. They ruin your career, so when you try to leave and reinvent yourself, it's hard to,
Well, I mean, they have all the leverage. I mean, if you say, I don't want my character to be that way, they say, okay, fine, we'll find somebody else to, play that. You don't have a contract, rip it up in front of you, and you're gone.
You know what stinks, too? Back in WWF, or E, or whatever it is, in the late 80s and 90s, all those guys came from territories. They were sons of wrestlers, or they were sons of promoters. They were your legitimate, groups. These new guys are just guys they trained from the indies, and, so you lose a lot of that good wrestling.
They haven't made stars. They really haven't. The only star that they have made, quite honestly, is John Cena that's had any consistent success recently.
Yeah.
I mean, CM Punk to some extent. And
he's almost CM Punk is kind of like the Chris Jericho of WWE because he's just the guy they didn't push and the guy that just made his way in regardless.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's really starting to burn out. I'm honestly sick of him. I'm sick of hearing about him. I'm sick of hearing about how he's the best thing in pro wrestling. I'm sick of him calling himself the best in the world. If you're the best in the world, you don't wrestle John Cena.
Who, Punk?
Yeah.
Well, see, the problem is he can't be himself. He can't do what he wants to do.
But he was doing it for the first 2 months of his push. All of a sudden, he's towing the company line. He's not saying anything incendiary. He's not, pulling in real life. He's just...
Would that be somebody that would be better off in TNA?
I can't honestly tell you that somebody at the peak of their career making more money than they've ever made, selling more merchandise than they've ever made, is it a better place in TNA?
Character-wise? I don't know.
No, because he'll never be more over than he is now. He's always going to be in the shadow of guys like The Rock, Triple H, Cena, because that's what happens to you. But...
So he's kind of compared to Hogan and Warrior, like a Piper... or, $1 Million Man type of guy.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's really good. Now's his time. How long is it going to last? Because you remember, we all thought Randy Orton was going to be the next top guy. Couple injuries, couple steroid suspensions.
That screwed it up.
He's now a mid-carder on SmackDown. He was the top guy.
Yeah, what happened? Is he just getting jobbed out? I don't watch it. Does he just get jobbed out or what?
It's just that no, I mean, he wins his matches, he loses his matches. I mean, he puts more people over now, but it's
time to go to TNA.
Well, I mean, he killed SmackDown by getting suspended. Ratings were so down when he was gone, and, people don't watch. If Orton and The Undertaker aren't there, they don't watch SmackDown.
Maybe because he was too undependable that they didn't want to take the risk on putting their...
You know what, they say that, though, and they keep giving him a contract, and, his dad's still involved. He'll always have a job. He'll always be one of, the 1B, 1C guys, but he'll never... Yeah, I mean, he hasn't held a world title since last November.
Remember him in Angle, man? That was awesome. And ECW.
That was.
That show was funny to watch.
I mean, Randy Orton is a legitimately good wrestler, but I think being a face in WWE now is so tame that you can't
do much.
I think I flipped to WWE and I heard one of the wrestlers, I think it was Cena, not surprisingly, I don't want to blame this on him if it wasn't, threatened to kick the other one's butt. Uh-oh. They literally said butt.
Isn't this the problem, too? We can go back to this, too, one time. That you can't go back to PG after you did what you used to do. You can't. You can't go back.
No,
you have to be PG-13 all the time.
They do all these demographics and all these social experiments and all these quizzes and try to find out, hey, older wrestling fans, why don't you watch the product anymore? Well, A, you don't have the people that I like. and B, it's changed so much.
You know, I hear this all the time. So they want to reach out to the Mexican audience. And all this. Why don't they just bring in a couple of luchadors instead of one all the time? They want that one luchador that's going to make this magic happen. I'm like, it doesn't work with just one, because who's he going to work with? Nobody. You need to bring in like 4 or 5 and
So
then
they can
mix
wrestle
them.
each other and then wrestle other cruiserweights. But
Exactly.
the problem is WWE doesn't have any cruiserweights,
No,
and
they
Daniel
don't
Bryan
care.
can't wrestle.
They don't care, and they don't want to put the effort to it. But I heard they're making a cruiserweight show. Supposedly, we've been hearing all this.
I don't even want them to have the WWE network.
Yeah, I think that's not going to happen.
I hope not.
If it does, it's going to be very watered down.
You know what, though? I'd be happy because that would free up so much more time on USA for me to watch something else. If everything went to, like, then, I'd be like, great, you can play, like, the Fast and the Furious rerun, and I'd rather watch that than your shitty 3 hours of Raw.
I'm just as happy with the on-demand network, to be honest with you, or programming. I just like watching those old
because
shows.
if they have their own network, they're going to play all the new stuff. We're not going to get to see what we want. It's like, I'll give you an example. We're both fans of MTV's True Life, not to go too far off subject.
Yeah.
They never play the really good ones on TV.
No.
They don't even put the older ones on demand anymore.
Mm-mm.
So if WWE gets their own network, we're only going to get to see what they pick and choose, cream of the crop, according to them, not what we want to see, not the wrestlers we want to see, and their own version of history, which I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, they'll ignore people like Mick Foley. They'll try to push these indie guys down your throat that shouldn't have a contract. They'll, you know, embalm The Rock, bring him back and whatnot. And, you know, it's enough for a quick pop, but it can't last. It's like a bubble. It always bursts. The Rock comes back. Okay, great. Everyone's excited. Next night, you're scrambling around. You have to get Brock Lesnar to come back, and viewership still isn't where it was when The Rock was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We just need to see a company get better. And we actually, to me, the whole problem is the fans need to change. They need to become real wrestling fans again and not entertainment fans.
Yeah, not casual ones. Well, you know what's interesting, too? It shows you that WWE always does more than TNA on a larger scale. WWE brings an MMA guy, Brock Lesnar, world champion. Who does TNA bring in? King Mo, someone we've never heard of or really care to hear of ever again.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I think when TNA brings in King Mo, they're going to make him actually wrestle.
They are,
WWE is
but
trying to make Lesnar be a UFC fighter in wrestling, and it's not right.
No.
It's not like Ken Shamrock, where he's actually, you know, selling moves and he's, you know, doing stuff, but he's not winning with an armbar. He's actually doing an ankle lock.
See, my problem with TNA with this King Mo thing is why waste the time and contract when you can bring someone else in that's going to do more? He's not going to be around too long.
He wasn't even that popular in Strikeforce, which was a promotion that folded.
Yeah.
And he got let go because I think he tweeted a bunch of really, you know, bad, insensitive things or something.
Yeah, it just seems like a waste of time to me. But, I mean, I hope... TNA, I think they're moving in the right direction.
I think so. It's taken them
Yeah.
a while. I think, honestly,
really
though,
has.
that Hulk Hogan contract is just an albatross around their neck because that's $2 million a year that you could use to
Oh, imagine the talent.
advertise, travel, buy bigger arenas, and get better talent. Talent wouldn't cost nearly as much as getting bigger arenas.
Yeah. Well, they got to start doing college, like, arena type
And
things.
you know what they need to start doing? More DVD releases. When is the last time you saw a trailer for a TNA wrestling DVD that wasn't just a superstar or wasn't a that wasn't just a pay-per-view? Have they even been promoting those?
I think they did, like, the Fortune group or Hulk Hogan's group, whatever that was. Not
Immortal?
Yeah, they did DVD for that. But that's
Why?
been a while.
That didn't even last that long.
I
No,
know.
but I mean, what I'm saying is, they don't even say make sure to buy the Slammiversary pay-per-view on DVD. They don't even.
Well, I did see an
mention it.
advertising for that, but it's not much. Never much.
No, they don't really talk about it that much.
It's hard to find their stuff now because Best Buy is definitely, when I used to go in there, used to have a lot. Now they've really downgraded. The only place where I can get TNA, which is hard to find anyway, is FYE. I don't know if Target sells it or Kmart. I know Kmart sells TNA stuff.
I think Kmart,
I don't know about DVDs.
Kmart does, I think. I've seen some TNA, but a lot of it's older.
All right. I'll have to go check it out
I'm
because
gonna
I love
check.
TNA and I
I do
want
too.
more of it around. Please don't go.
Going back to the difference between sports entertainment and pro wrestling, you and I have a mutual friend that, you know, has been a WWE fan for years, and we showed her TNA wrestling for the first time, and her comment was, "Oh my God, I don't believe how many more moves these people do."
They actually wrestle.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, they're not standing around talking, or they're not just in a side headlock for, 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, WWE could be that too. It's just it's all about how you
WWE
use the
used to
wrestlers.
be like
Yeah.
I mean, you remember Angle, Benoit, Guerrero, all those people. I mean, hell, even The Undertaker would wrestle really technical matches. I mean, we know he can. Edge. I mean, their title matches always used to be at least 20 to 40 minutes. Now, I've went out there and I've seen literally 12-minute main events, 4 titles, including entrances. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's too long. It's too short.
I
It's not
mean,
long enough.
no, it isn't. It's I don't know. I don't see how people can justify shelling out money. And everybody I talk to that pays money says the only show that they ever feel like they get their money worth out of is WrestleMania, and even then, some of them are disappointed. They say if they want anybody else that spends money on any pay per view, they don't even do it. And you remember my one group of friends that I always tell you about that pay for the pay per view every month?
Yeah, man.
Night of Champions is apparently so bad that 4 different people declined to order the pay per view and are just going to stream it instead and watch it for free. And some of them aren't even going to watch it just because of how bad it is. I'm like, have you finally seen the light? Are you finally done? Can we get over this addiction to
Yeah.
WWE and CM Punk versus John Cena? Because no one cares.
Is there anybody you think from TNA that would do better in Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I think a lot of the lower level guys. I mean, Kid Cash,
Yeah.
ROH World Champion. You could make him. Gunner, ROH
Yeah.
World Champion. You know, all the guys in TNA that have talent that aren't being used correctly. Kaz, not so much Daniels, but no big name stars. I would not want to see RVD. The last thing I would want to do is hear the words RVD is ROH. I would like just
But
walk away.
yeah, I think he'll be in TNA for a while because he's friends with
Oh, he
Hogan
will.
and the schedule's
He's
light.
going to retire in TNA.
Yeah, I don't really see him
No, but I mean, like,
coming
yeah, I
back.
mean, what I'm saying is, a lot of the talent that we agree is good that can actually wrestle that isn't getting a fair shake.
That's
Chavo Guerrero just to get rid of him.
yeah. I wouldn't really. I
I
don't
mean,
really
that's
think he's
just to get
gonna.
rid of him.
I think he's gonna be more of a trainer than anything.
I hope. I hated him in WWE. His most likable gimmick was Kerwin White. He actually made me laugh for the first time ever. And then when he went back to being Chavo Guerrero after Eddie's death, I'm like, I don't like you.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I mean, a lot of TNA guys come from Ring of Honor anyway, but like now, like OVW is gonna be like their thing they're working with. So
I put Hardcore Holly in TNA, honestly.
yeah, I think he would fit nicely. I would like
I'd
to
put
see.
him in a group with like Kid Cash and Gunner as
Yeah,
just like really tough Southern wrestlers that hate everyone.
yeah, that would make sense. Um,
Like how like I don't know. I mean, like if the Dudleys had been together, they could have feuded with them. Just something like that.
I'd like to see like another Gothic group too, like Kevin Thorne and all that one more time.
It's a you know what? It's a real wonder they haven't done that because that kind of thing is still around. Yeah, it was really big in the late '90s, early 2000s, but it's always had periods. I mean, we had the Ministry of Darkness, we had the New Church, we had Juggalo Championship Wrestling. With music nowadays, we have dubstep, but they incorporate some metal and whatnot. I don't see why there isn't a gothic group.
Yeah, there's always room for that. James
Maybe
Mitchell would be a
Daphne.
good manager. Yeah, Daphne would have been good.
James Mitchell was awesome. I wish they'd bring him back.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
As
It
far
would
as
help him.
personalities go, I'd like to see James Mitchell. Here's what I think. Do you think if he changed up his voice a little bit and spoke normally, do you think he'd be a viable commentator?
I could see it.
I do too. Actually, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. Maybe have him be a commentator as the Sinister Minister.
That'd be good. Why not? Or even if he can't get on the main show,
Like,
you
he
put him
could
on
be-
Explosion.
Yeah, you know what I noticed? You know how TNA has no heel commentators? I mean, all Taz does is, well, you do what you gotta do to win the
Yeah.
match, but he's not a heel.
No offense, he was a great wrestler, but he's not a good commentator.
If you brought in Father James Mitchell as a heel commentator, he'd be like, I like this guy. I don't care what he does.
Yeah.
Pokes people in the eye, whatever, I mean, I think he'd fit in good there.
You need you need a bad guy color commentator. They don't have that much anymore. They try with Michael Cole in WWE all the time, but he can't do it.
He can't do it because people don't hate him because he's a heel. People hate him because he's terrible.
Yeah, just in general.
I mean, he's not like Bobby Heenan, who's actually funny. I mean, Cole, they even made fun of him on the program with his other announcers by, he would always do this thing where he'd be like, vintage Sheamus whenever he hits a move. And Jerry Lawler goes, Cole, Sheamus has only been wrestling for the WWE for 4 months. He can't be vintage yet.
Yeah, how is that even possible? Any
Speaking
other?
of Lawler, though, you heard about that, right?
Yeah.
Heart attack. I mean,
Oh well.
personally, we wish you well, recovery. You were a lot better in the 90s, weren't we all? Other than that, What are they down to now? Cole and JR again, or is it? Can JR even commentate that early, or
I
is it
have
just going to
no
be
idea.
Michael Cole and some jobber?
They might bring Mick Foley in again.
I liked him as a
That
commentator.
wasn't bad.
I like Paul Heyman as a commentator too, but I don't like him as. Oh, now they're doing this angle where Paul Heyman's with CM Punk. It makes absolutely no sense. They're teaming up with
Just end
Punk
it.
and Lesnar. I give up.
So you didn't go back to TNA or you didn't go to TNA to do this?
I don't know.
Well, any other any like announcers or personalities that could go to TNA or anywhere? Ring of Honor, WWE. I mean, Prince Diana, definitely TNA.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
love to see him there.
absolutely. Veda, what the fuck is her name? That little cute redheaded chick from Ring of Honor. Just because I can see her in better quality camera.
I don't know her name. See if I can look it up real quick.
She's like short, red hair, glasses.
Hmm.
She's an ROH. She's just like one of their color commentators. She does backstage interviews. She's not bad. You know who I'd like to see sent straight to the pit of hell?
Hmm.
Borash.
Oh yeah.
You remember when we had to watch that one pay-per-view and he was commentating and it
Yeah.
just dragged the whole thing down because he constantly talked and tried to weigh in?
Hmm.
Here's an idea. How about moving Eric Bischoff from his normal role of fucking everything up to being a commentator?
Hmm.
Because you remember how good he was at that.
Yeah, I could see
Or
that.
what about Kevin Nash as a commentator? We loved it whenever he would do that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Matt Hardy apparently is returning to Ring of Honor.
He was there in the first place?
I guess at one point or another. What this girl's name is? Let me see. It'll come up.
Veda.
Veda Scott.
Yeah, that's it. I swear to God, they changed her last name.
Vader.
No, the last part.
Huh.
It was like Veda Skal or something. It
Changed
definitely
a lot.
wasn't Scott.
Hmm.
Do you remember Gunner Scott?
Yeah,
And he beat Booker T like twice.
it's kind of random.
Although everyone that's a John Cena fan, I always point out, hey, he lost to Kevin Federline. And the worst part was, it was because of Booker T.
Remember that tag team that was with like Michelle McCool? The one guy had like blonde hair and the other guy had black hair.
What the hell were they named?
I don't remember. They were forgettable.
Not the Heartthrobs. They were
I don't know. They didn't last long.
that's gonna bother me. They were
I'll look it up.
they were always in the tag title hunt, but they never won the belts. You remember? They were both tall and skinny.
Mm-hmm. You see if I can find what the names were. They were like those guys from like Florida Championship Wrestling or something, or LVW.
They're not the same as Kalen Croft and Trent Beretta, are they?
They're called Teacher's Pets.
That's what they were called? She managed to there was another, there were a lot of random tag teams in WWE.
Casey James and Idol Stevens.
That was it.
Yeah. Where's Idol
But
Stevens
he was so
now?
slow in the match that I always used to call him Idol, like the other version, like IDLE Stevens.
He's 30 now.
That's it.
Looked older than that, yeah.
Wrestled older than that. He was terrible.
He was in World Wrestling Council for a few years. Now he's back in Florida Championship Wrestling.
Good old FCW.
Yeah. Casey, was it Casey?
James.
Yeah, I don't know where he went. They don't even have him here.
Casey Jones, the Mad Engineer. I don't know.
Well, I think we had a good talk.
Yep.
I'm Chris.
I'm Peck.
Good night.
Yep.